It's time for Come and Talk It with your host, Michael Cargill, brought to you by Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes Magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
We are here for a very important. We believe in the Second Amendment. And I would like to just say. Imagine to all of our friends in the 2A. If you woke up on Wednesday, and Joe Biden was president, and Kamala Harris was vice president. But yet today on Halloween, you knew that was coming. What would you do differently? For the next 2.5 days to protect the Second Amendment, to protect your right, and to avoid the oncoming flood of the cancel culture, which we know is coming.
Absolutely. And I'm proud to stand here as a Latina, as a single mother, as a woman who embraces and loves the Constitution of the United States and the Second Amendment. And Donald Trump will fight to protect your rights as gun owners in this country. Everything is at stake. Everything is at stake. If you believe in your Constitution and in your right to bear arms, and as a single mother I do it, then you will show up. Resounding vote on November 3rd for Donald Trump for president to protect the America that you love. That so many have fought. We humbly ask for your support and for your vote.
All right, I'll tell you. This is Michael Cargill. Welcome to Central Texas Gunworks Come and Talk It radio show. All right, so the breaking news we're going to talk about today is the new ATF 4473. We're going to talk about that because guess what? That starts today. Today starts the new 4473. All gun stores in the country, all your federal firearms licensed dealers have to use a new firearms transaction record. Starting November the 1st, they got to use that one as dated May 2020. On that form there, you got to put in the gun information first before you actually have the customer fill out their portion in Section B. So before they fill out their name, their last name, first name, middle initial, all that stuff there, the gun store's got to fill in the gun information first. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about that with Edwin Walker at Texas U.S. Law Shield. Also, we're going to talk about what is going on with the ATF and SBRs. We're going to talk about that and get Edwin Walker with Texas and U.S. Law Shield to break that down for us and tell us, what's going on? Do I need to be on guard with my SBR? Are they going to come after them? Are they going to ban those? Because you just heard the speech from, people that are supporting the National Rifle Association. They said, hey, if you want to protect your Second Amendment rights, you need to vote for Donald Trump. Well, I call bull because I'm telling you, you're losing your Second Amendment rights under this current president. All right. So when I look at all this stuff, I look at the history of gun control. I look at the history of when I've lost gun rights. A lot of those I lost on the Republican president. So you might want to think twice and take a look at that. And you might want to talk to your elected officials. I'm just keeping it real. All right. So we're also going to talk about the Walmart reverses their decision to pull guns and ammo from the display cases. We're also going to talk about the ATF interpretive change restrict handgun imports. That with Edwin Walker. We're also going to talk about the Michigan judge that overturns a ban on open carry of firearms at polling locations. Here in Texas, Election Day is on Tuesday all around the country. But in Texas, you cannot take a firearm in a polling location. People, that is a felony. I don't know what the confusion is about this. Why are you confused about it? Don't take your class online. You might want to sit in someone's course and ask some questions because this is one thing you don't want to screw around with. All right? Because you'll wind up with a felony. You'll lose your gun rights forever because you did the Cliff Notes. Also, we're going to talk about the only fan model defends family from burglars with a gun. We're going to break all this stuff down for you today. But let me bring it to the conversation. You know who we're going to have inside the studio? We have Black ATX Tactical. Man, what's going on, guys? Introduce yourself. Tell everyone who you are, name of your organization. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hey, please come back to the show again, Michael. Yeah, I'm Brandon Antone. I'm the founder of Black ATX Tactical. I got Billy Carr and Melissa Jenkins. I apologize. Yeah, we're just a group that are pro 2A and just happen to be Black, African Americans, just like anyone else. We come from all walks of life. We come from banking backgrounds. I'm personally in tech. Some of us are in other industries, and we're just like any other citizen. And I try to emphasize education and legal gun ownership, and that's what my group does.
Oh, what do you mean? I don't understand, Brandon, because I was told that black folks didn't like guns.
Oh, I'm from the South, so we love our guns in the South. I'm from Georgia, so I have plenty of rural Black family that love their shotguns, love their guns. I have family in law enforcement and military, and hey, we're just yeah, we love them. Don't let the narratives fool you about what we are, just because obviously there's different votings and things like that, and whatever the media tries to spin. I'm just keeping it real.
All right. And so tell us who you are.
Billy Carr, happen to be administrator of Black ATX Tactical as well, along with Mr. Brandon and my lovely sister here, Melissa Jenkins. And yeah, I'm a Texas boy, and we like them. We like them guns here too. We all about that pew pew life.
Yeah.
Come on, Billy. I was told that black folks didn't like guns.
They told you wrong, Mike.
They were wrong in the black community.
They told you wrong. Now, to be like you like to say, keep it real. A lot of people have they've drank the Kool-Aid over the last few decades, and in some neighborhoods and communities where there's high crime and violence, people have been steered away from gun ownership, made to think that it's a bad thing, and it's part of our mission to dispel that myth.
All right. And so tell me who you are. Get real close to the mic there. You got your face shield on going there.
I'm Melissa Jenkins, and I am a mod. I'm new to the 2A. I was very enthusiastic about it. I want to learn, train, and do as much as I can. And they brought me along, and I've been just coming in and trying to, from a woman's perspective, and learn as much as I can. If I'm going to get a gun, I want to do it right and go to the right classes and not the online.
And I tell you, I get a lot of media outlets that reach out to me. And they say, we're looking at the reports, we're looking at the NICS reports that a lot of people a lot of people of color are actually buying guns now. They're getting into the gun business. They're buying a gun. They're taking a class. So I'm going to ask you some questions a little later on after the break. There, what made you decide to get a gun and get interested in being a firearms owner? So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about some other things that are going on around the country. And like I said, we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about Americans bought a record-breaking 17 million guns in 2020 so far. That is 17 million guns. More guns have been purchased this year than any other year in the history of this country. We're going to talk about why Walmart reverses their decision to pull guns and ammo from their display cases. You know why? Because money matters. They don't care about you. They care about their lining their pockets, because they know, whoa, we didn't make that many profits this year. We need to sell some guns. We need to make up the difference. They're talking about their pocketbook. We're going to talk about that, the new ATF 4473, also the Ballot or the Bullet. Which one are you going to pull? What is important to you? There are 3 boxes out there. One is called the ballot box. One is called the jury box. Other one's called the ammo box. Do you have all 3? This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, we're going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about the new ATF 4473, which starts today. That's right, federal firearms license dealers. If you're selling a firearm, you're doing that transaction today, you need to start using that new form that is dated for May 2020. On the firearm transaction record, you got to fill in the top portion first. You can't let the customer fill it in. You have to do your part first, fill in the gun information, the manufacturer, the model, the serial number, the type, and the caliber before the buyer, the transferee, fills in their name and information. So you got to do your part first. So unfortunately, we had to run out the Kinko's today, and we had to print those forms out because guess what? We didn't have any, enough inside the store. We only had a little packet that he gave us initially, and we're still waiting on our other stuff. So we had to actually run the FedEx Kinko's and actually go print out 100 packets. Isn't that sad? That's sad. That's the federal government, though. But we have to do this because if we don't, then we get in trouble. All right, so you got to fill in that information first in Section A, which actually is the manufacturer's information, the model, the serial number, the type, the caliber. And then you have to put in the number of firearms. You have to write that in. You can't put a number. You have to spell everything out. And then you have to go to Section B, give that form to the customer. The customer fill in their last name, their first name, their middle initial, their date of birth, their height, and their weight. And I think we do have a copy of this form. Yeah, we do have a copy of this form. Yeah, okay. All right, and then so the last name, first name, middle initial, your address, make sure that your address that you're putting on the form actually matches the address on your driver's license because we're going to deny you if it does not match. So make sure your driver's license is up to date. We're not dealing with the state. We're not dealing with the city. We're not dealing with your landlord. We're dealing with the federal government. So your information's got to be correct. Don't get mad at me. Don't get upset with me because I don't care. Because the federal government says this is what has to happen. So you have to make sure that stuff matches or you're not getting your gun. I don't make the rules. I just have to follow them. All right, so you're going to get all that information, your weight, your sex, your date of birth. You're going to put in your ethnicity. And guess what? They've added some stuff. You got to put in your race as well. When it comes to the sex, they added the non-binary. That's right. You got to do either male, female, or you get to pick non-binary. All right, so you do that, birth date, answer those standard questions that you always have to answer. Got to make sure you're a U.S. citizen. Check that. Or if you're not, go ahead and check that box says you're a citizen of another country. Then we're going to have you fill out the rest of those questions there. You answer some alien information, non-immigrant visa, and all that stuff. And then you're going to sign and date the form. And then the gun store, the FFL dealer is going to do their part and do the background check and all that stuff. The best thing to do, folks, is to get your license to carry handgun. You get your license. This bypasses the FFL dealer to contact the NICS and do the background check. You know, if you're worried about getting delayed, if you're born out of the country, you're going to get delayed. If you have any charges pending, you're going to, anything's going on, you have any criminal history at all, let me correct that. You have any criminal history at all, you're probably going to get delayed because they're trying to verify that information with the agency where those records are held that they're looking at. So if they can't get that information, it's a Sunday, it's late in the day, maybe that police department's not responding or that court's not responding, you're going to be delayed. To eliminate that, get your license, your handgun license, and that eliminates that problem altogether. But you know what? Let me welcome to the conversation Edwin Walker with Texas U.S. Law Shield, because I want to change direction here a little bit. I want to talk about the ATF and SBRs. Edwin, welcome to Come and Talk It, sir.
Well, thank you for having me, Mike.
All right. So, Edwin, I want to change gears a little bit. I want to talk about SBRs. I want to get into that. I want to talk about this, this Wiley law firm that actually released an email and a statement about, some changes, some things that the ATF is doing, and everyone's totally confused. I'm totally confused by this, Edwin. So I don't understand this letter. I don't understand what they're saying. So I need you to break this down like I'm a 2-year-old.
Sure. And it is very confusing. And keep in mind, this all goes back to the fact that the ATF is continuously interpreting and reinterpreting a law that was written way back in 1934. And so, of course, we're talking about the NFA. Now, the ATF, as part of their technology division, they are given the responsibility of determining what category a firearm will fall into. It's either got to be a rifle, or it has to be a shotgun, or it has to be a pistol, or it has to be an AOW, or it has to be just a plain old regular firearm. And so using some examples, a couple of years ago, we had the big controversy with the Mossberg shockwave. I know we bring it up a lot, but a lot of that obviously confused a lot of people because it clearly shoots shotgun shells. So why wouldn't it be a shotgun? Well, it's not a shotgun because the definition says it has to be designed to be fired from the shoulder. Okay, well, clearly a Mossberg shockwave cannot be fired from the shoulder. So why isn't it then an AOW? If it's not a shotgun and it looks to be real little, but why is it not an AOW? Well, it's not an AOW because it is it's a third longer than the 26 inches. It's 26.4 inches, 26.36, something like that.
Correct.
And so it's not short enough to be an AOW. And so they had to say, well, you got us. It has to be a firearm, so therefore everybody can go ahead and possess it. And I think that really kind of triggered, and this is completely speculative on my part, but I think that kind of triggered the ATF about, wow, technology has reached a point where their definitions just simply don't hold up, and I think it gave them the willies a little bit to be basically blessing, if you can, all of these things that look like rifles and they shoot rifle rounds, but they are technically pistols because they are designed to be fired with one hand. And that's what I think that they have re-examined, is what does it mean to be designed to be fired with one hand? And of course, just let me preface this by saying that not to make everybody sure where my position is, the fact that the NFA regulates short barrel shotguns, short barrel rifles, to me is utterly ridiculous. I guess a legitimate argument can be made about regulating machine guns, but simply to require registration and a tax stamp based upon the length of a rifle or shotgun, whenever, of course, handguns. Now, keep in mind, in 1939, most of your handguns were revolvers. Really, there were a couple of Europeans that shot 9mm parabellums. And of course, there's the old trusty 1911, but the vast majority of handguns were revolvers. And so obviously technology has not really kept up with that. And your handguns now, equal or sometimes may exceed the firepower of a short barreled rifle or shotgun. And so I think that's where obviously Congress was making the distinction. But in today's day and time, the regulation of a short barrel rifle or shotgun is just, in my opinion, ridiculous. So that's my position. If we get that out of the way, so nobody come at me and claim that I'm would be anti short barreled. But I think that what has happened is that with the proliferation of pistols, handguns that are based upon rifle designs, like the obviously like the AK, like the AR, and the one that the Wiley letter mentions in particular is a pistol designed on the HK91, which is a really cool rifle, and would be a really cool handgun if you could get your hands on one. But that's what it's talking about. This particular letter is dealing with the importation, because the ATF does have more power in limiting the importation of guns that it doesn't like, rather than regulating the ones that are produced here domestically. And so that's where this confusion has come, because there has been recent letters by the ATF saying, look, we are going to provide greater scrutiny to these things that are handguns based upon rifle designs. We've previously been letting them go. I know that I kind of figured that they haven't really liked that, because of course a lot of people like them, and a lot of people are like, this is really cool. And clearly, as a practical matter, whenever you this fired with one hand thing, most people obviously can fire a pistol with one hand. If they use two hands, they still have to wrap it around the pistol grip of the pistol. Obviously, if you fire one of these rifle design pistols with two hands, you're either holding it around the barrel shroud or you're holding around the magazine well. And so you get greater accuracy, greater stabilization. And like I said, I believe this has always made the ATF a little bit nervous. And now they're kind of exploring ways where they can go back and revisit and maybe reclassify some of these. We hope they don't. So I just want to put that out there. This is pure speculation at this point, and we hope that they will not go this way. But I think this is laying the groundwork for the ATF to kind of move towards that direction.
All right, so we're talking with Edwin Walker. He's the principal attorney with Texas and U.S. Law Shield. We're talking about the new 4473. We're also talking about the rules, or some things that are coming out, the rumblings we're hearing coming out of the ATF with the SBRs. We're talking about that. We're talking about ballot and the bullet. We're talking about Election Day. You cannot carry a gun in a polling place. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Brittany Glaze, and I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean, or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking with Edwin Walker. We're talking about the ATF. Now, according to this letter that was released at Edwin from Wiley Law Firm, the ATF interpretive change restricts handgun imports and may require NFA registration. It says that in some of the new letters, ATF has begun listing the following objective design features when making its evaluations. It says incorporation of rifle sights, utilization of rifle caliber ammunition, both 5.56 and 7.62. It says incorporation of rifle length barrel. It says the weapon's heavy weight and also ability to accept magazines that range in capacity from 20 rounds to 100 rounds, which will contribute to the overall weight of the firearm, and overall length of the weapon, which creates a front-heavy imbalance when held in one hand. Edwin, what does this mean?
Yeah, you read my mind, Mike. That was the next thing that I was going into, before the break, is that I think this is where the ATF has tipped their hand. I think that this is where, like I mentioned in the earlier segment, I think that they've always been uncomfortable with AR platform, AK platform rifles. Basically, any handgun that's based upon a rifle design. Like I said, I think they've always been uncomfortable with that, and now they're kind of weaseling their way around to find a way to regulate these, and because if you look at these objective criteria, they're all based upon rifle specs. The incorporation of rifle sights. I mean, that couldn't be any more blatant. The use of rifle ammunition, 5.56 and 7.62, in particular.
So what they're saying there is, if I have an SBR, or if I have not an SBR, let's say I have an AR pistol, and I put rifle sights on it, then that really should be an SBR.
No. What they're saying is that's one of the criteria they will use. As the ATF often does, they say that this list is neither exclusive or exhaustive. And so they're just saying that using and I believe they actually use this term whenever we look, if you recall, whenever we talked about the honey badger a few weeks ago, that they are looking at the weapon holistically.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. So if I have a AR pistol, which I do right here, and I have my rifle sights, it shoots a 5.56 to 2.23. It has it also has a 30-round magazine. So that means they're considering that an SBR.
Well, no, like I said, none of those are determinative.
Okay.
What they're going to do is they're going to take a look at the entire weapon. And like I said, I think that this is along the same lines of what they did to the honey badger. Whenever people were outraged or whenever they're talking about it, and said, why the honey badger? Why did you go after the honey badger with all these? They didn't have an answer. They go, well, we just looked at the whole thing and we were really uncomfortable with it. And I think this is sort of an attempt to explain why they were uncomfortable with it, or to preemptively lay out some objective, and again, I would like to use my air quotes, objective criteria, where they're going to say, this really looks more like a rifle than it does a handgun. And so unless it's over 26 inches, we're going to classify it as as an AOW, which would mean that you would have to, get a tax stamp for it.
Okay.
And so I think that's what they're going to be looking at. And like I said, these are all rifle characteristics. It is kind of, it does set a dangerous precedent. And I want people to know that, of course, Congress has the power to clear this up. Unfortunately, the bills that are currently pending in Congress, the bills that are proposed by a certain, that would be supported by a certain presidential candidate. All you got to do is go to his website, joebiden.com, and look to see that these issues may become moot in the future anyway, because the proposed firearms restrictions would be so excessive that AK pistols, AR pistols, any pistol based upon a rifle is going to be prohibited anyway. They would be made illegal. And that's why I want to tell your listeners that, if you consider yourself to be a well-rounded voter, which means you consider people's positions on different things, if you like guns, if you like the Second Amendment, this is the election to throw that all away and become a single issue voter. And if you support the Second Amendment, there is literally only one candidate you could vote for president, and you can verify that on the candidates' websites. In particular, I think it's kind of interesting that you brought up the 4473, and that gun dealers now have to list the guns on the front. Well, if one of the proposed legislative changes is made that Joe Biden supports, which is that you can buy one firearm a month, okay, one a month, all right, not one at a time, not one every couple of days, one gun a month, then you won't even need that, Mike. You'll just have to have the one slot there on the front.
Oh, so we won't have to worry about multiple sales or anything, huh?
No, you won't have to worry about that at all. So, yes, it's designed to prevent gun stockpiling. And as someone who may or may not be a gun stockpiler, I find this to be particularly offensive to me.
Oh, absolutely. All right. I got someone who's got a question for you here inside the studio, Edwin.
Okay.
Sure.
This is Melissa Jenkins, and you may have already answered this question, but I need you to break it down for me. I have recently purchased a Shockwave 590, and I want to change the stock. Will that be legal?
Ooh. Well, that the part is that the reason that a Shockwave is considered to be just what we call a GCA or gun control firearm, which means that it's just like, it's not subject to any kind of NFA regulation, is because of its length. And so if you do take that bird head stock off of there, you have got to make sure that you maintain its length larger than 26 inches. So if you were to put just a straight, drop down pistol grip on there, I think you've converted it to an AOW. So if you're calling me for my legal advice, that's what I would say is you want to make sure that you absolutely keep the length over 26 inches.
So, ma'am, what he's saying is it's always going to be about size.
Okay.
Size. It does matter. Okay, that's what he's saying.
So yeah, you can put a I would say that you couldn't put a shoulder brace on it because it does still have a barrel length of what is the Shockwave barrel length? 14 inches, if I'm correct.
I forget.
So there's really kind of a narrow course where you can go if you want to change out the pistol grip, the grip. If you don't like that bird head grip, can't make it too short, but then you also can't put anything on there which would redesign it to be fired from the shoulder, because at that point you've redesigned it into either an AOW, maybe a short barreled shotgun. But that's why Mossberg spent a lot of R&D money making sure that they could navigate that very narrow course where they could have a short barrel, but yet have it be over 26 inches long so that it wouldn't be subject to the NFA.
All right.
So adding a SB Tactical the Shockwave brace, it's actually a Shockwave brace. That's going to make it illegal. I don't know the length of it. I'm not sure. But when I purchased the firearm, I was told to get the SB Tactical SBM4 Mossberg 590 shockwave brace kit.
Yeah, you can get the brace. The brace is fine. Just don't do anything to the brace, which would make it appear that it can be fired from the shoulder. And so,
And don't add
this
don't add like a foregrip to it.
right, or don't add padding, or what some people were doing is they were just duct taping the brace part together. So, and this goes back to the ATF, a long line of confusion with the ATF whenever the braces initially came out, is because if you look at a brace to the uneducated, the brace looks like a stock. It's got the same kind of overall shape, and people would say that's a stock, which clearly it's not. It's specifically designed to wrap around the forearm. It doesn't make it easy to be shouldered, and so the ATF came out, and again, this shows their wishy-washiness about applying these definitions. And so they first came out and they said, oh, this looks like a shoulder stock. Oh, well, wait, it's a brace. Oh, wait, well, don't design it. Oh, wait, don't use it as a shoulder stock. And what they finally have come down to is that if you both redesign the brace and use it as a shoulder stock, then you violated the law. And so those, I would say, you are fully that shoulder, that stabilizing brace, completely legal. You are okay to put it on. You are okay to use it as intended, but don't make any modifications to it, and then don't get caught actually using it as a stock.
All right, Edwin, our resident pastor has a question for you. Reverend Zach.
Hey, Edwin and Zach, how you doing?
Hey, doing all right.
I am not doing quite as well because I'm on JoeBiden.com, and I'm reading about his proposed gun legislation if he is elected. And basically,
truth over fact.
From what I'm reading here,
terrifying.
The way I am understanding what I see, he wants to basically regulate ARs and other guns like that under the NFA.
Correct.
Oh.
Which is not just, okay, keep in mind, these won't just, so there's basically three paths. If you look at all the Democrat proposed legislation in Congress, and if you look at Joe Biden's website, there's three things they could do. They could either outlaw assault rifles, in which, keep in mind, just to throw it out there, an assault rifle is any semi-automatic rifle that is fed by a magazine that has only one, it used to be two under the 1994 assault weapons, but it's just one. So if it has a pistol grip, which almost every one of them do, if it has a barrel shroud, if it has a foregrip, if it has a threaded barrel, that's a biggie, because that includes the threaded barrel characteristic applies to both handguns and shotguns. Just imagine all of you silencer enthusiasts. Guess what? No more barrels with threads. How are you going to get your silencer on there? So if it's any rifle, so it's not just ARs, it's not just AKs, it's any semi-automatic rifle fed by a magazine that has one of these characteristics. So the three different paths that could be taken is that they could make them illegal, but yet grandfather all of the others, all the ones that are currently owned in existence, and make it very, very difficult to then transfer those. So basically, if you have them, you got them, you're stuck with them. You could sell them, but you got to jump through a lot of hoops. Number two, do what Eric Swalwell wants to do. He is the congressman from California, and it terrifies me that he would ever be in a position to impose his will on any kind of gun regulations. He wants to ban all assault weapons.
He wants to nuke us, too.
Correct. He wants to ban all the assault weapons with no grandfathering, which means that is an absolute 100% confiscation, which means you will be given a period of time to turn them in. And if you do not turn them in or engage in a mandatory buyback, then you will be a felon, and they will come knock down your door and search your house looking for your assault weapons. So, and the third course is what Joe Biden proposes, is that assault weapons would be banned, and any assault weapons, or, and this is a biggie, high capacity magazines that people are currently in possession of would then be required to register them and pay the tax on all of these. And so you can imagine if you're a person who has maybe stockpiled magazines or collected magazines, and you got a box full of 20 magazines of various calibers, all of them which hold more than 10 rounds. Just imagine that box now has
$4,000 tax.
Yes, you have to pay a $200 tax on every single one of those.
Woo! Hold on there, Edwin.
Wow.
Hold on there. All right, we come back from the break. We'll come back. We're still got to talk about Walmart reverses their decision to pull guns and ammo from the display cases. We're talking about the Michigan judge overturns a ban on open carry firearms at polling locations. Also, OnlyFans model defends family from burglars with a gun. But keep in mind that in Texas, you cannot carry a gun in a polling place. It is a felony to carry a firearm in a polling place. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hey, this is AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated. It has escalated to the point where one of the participants has actually gotten out of their vehicle. We recommend that you stay in your vehicle at all times. Do not exit your vehicle, because the person who exits their vehicle is going to be looked at as the aggressor. If the other individual has exited their vehicle, and they are not in contact with your vehicle, and they do not have a weapon, then do not feel that you can display your weapon in an act of self-defense. People are allowed to just simply stand there and scream at you, scream whatever they want. Until they make a demonstrative effort to try to harm you, there is no immediate threat that would justify displaying or shooting or brandishing your firearm. Now, in the event that the person shows their own weapon, in particular a firearm, the existence of their weapon would give you reasonable belief.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back, and we're talking with Edwin Walker at Texas U.S. Law Shield. Also, we have inside the studio Black ATX Tactical. And boy, I tell you, we almost came out of our chairs there. That last little statement you made there, Edwin. You kind of scared me a little bit, and I'm concerned, because
you should be scared. I'm terrified.
Crazy. Yeah, this is crazy because there's no end to it.
No, and see that's the thing about it is that I don't know if ATF is signaling about how they're going to change things, or if they're in preparation to change things. But the thing about it is that depending upon how the election goes, uh, the ATF may be emboldened to just go off the rails and make all kinds of crazy interpretations they want without even waiting for legislative action.
Okay. Any questions for Edwin here inside the studio?
Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
that does look pretty scary. The plan he's outlining. Does he have the executive power to actually implement this on his own, or does he need majorities?
Well, that's a great question, because as we've seen, the executive does have the power to direct the ATF to do things. And so, yeah, there are certain things like the definition, like the straightforward definition of rifle and shotgun and pistol. Those, they can't mess with. And they couldn't come out and say, we are prohibiting or we are regulating rifles that have previously been unregulated for 50 years, that being the AR. And so that's what they want to do. I don't think they can do that through executive action, but this kind of nibbling around the edges, this kind of looking at definitions or amorphous definitions, which is, the bump stock ban is a prime example of that. Legislatively, they wanted to do it. They couldn't succeed. And so they said, we'll just have the ATF re-examine their examination of what a bump stock does. And so they used an existing definition to try to ban this as an accessory. And so I think that's what can be done with executive action. But the big scary things like limiting gun sales, consumers to purchasing one gun a month, classifying magazines as large capacity ammunition feeding devices, requiring them to be registered by the ATF, just coming out and banning semi-automatic rifles that have pistol grips. That would have to be done by legislative action.
Yes, sir. Billy Carr, Black ATX Tactical here with the question. I
Sure.
get that. I get that. Guns are scary to some people. But given that we've had 17 plus million guns sold this year alone, and a large percentage of that is going to individuals who previously were not into guns or didn't believe in them. I guess more of the liberal bent. And also given that so many more African Americans are getting into gun ownership and training, et cetera, I'm kind of curious as to why you maybe get your opinion on why you think the Democratic Party isn't adjusting their platform as it relates to gun ownership.
Well, I think because the anti-gun folks are one of the engines that drive the Democratic Party. I mean, the whole if you look at all of the students from the Parkland shooting and David Hogg in particular, I mean this is supposed to be the new voice of the Democratic Party. And you're exactly correct. You would be 100% right if we were talking about Texas in the 1980s and the 1990s. There were many, many, many Democrats who were Democratic, who were socially liberal, economically liberal, but yet they still supported gun rights, and that's how we got our initial CHL law way back in 1995. And so there used to be, that was one of the things that you did find in Democrats, is that there was there was a variety of voices, but yet if you look at the last 10 years or so, the Democrats are playing to that group that that gun safety, and I'm again using my air quotes, gun safety is very important to, and I think that a lot of it is because of that people are just simply are not educated. You're right that they think that, you know, they see these guns and they're scary, and oh, nobody should have these type of guns, but they don't realize that that's sort of the poster child. That's the glamorous or the scary type of gun, but yet the legislation crosses all boundaries. For example, let's say you did have a first time gun buyer and they went to the gun store and they bought themselves a Glock Model 17, or they went and got themselves a Beretta Model 92, both of which have standard high capacity magazines in them. And so if you went to one of these liberal gun buyers and said, guess what? You bought your Glock 17. It came with 3 magazines. Joe Biden has said any magazine larger than 10 rounds, you're going to have to pay a $200 tax on. And so guess what? Now you have to register your gun, your magazines, and pay $600 tax on top of it for a gun that you went to the gun show and bought as your first gun to protect yourself and your family. People need to realize that this is the extent. These are the ramifications. That it's not just about banning scary guns, because and a lot of people think that an AR automatically shoots, is automatically an automatic rifle, that it shoots multiple rounds. They just simply don't know any better. And I think that maybe if there was a little more education out there, that we would kind of see that Second Amendment rights and gun rights can be an area where Republicans and Democrats could agree on, and you could find pro-gun Democrats. But
right.
just go look at any of the bills pending in Congress, especially was 5915, which is the sort of the biggest, the omnibus gun bill that's currently pending. It has 132 co-sponsors, none of which are Republicans. They are all Democrats. And so I think that reflects the majority belief of the Democratic Party.
All right, another quick question for you, Evan.
Oh, I didn't really have a question, but I was just going to say it's kind of funny in the 50s and 60s that firearm safety and education was something taught in schools, in public education, and now we're kind of at a point where guns are scary, guns are bad. And to be honest, what you're saying is, I think that for someone like a Biden or something like that, any Democrat is going to run on a typically anti-gun platform is to satiate the more of like the white liberal base, because they're the majority and they tend to sway a lot of the votes. And they're a majority in terms of the Democratic, even though like blacks vote 90% Democrat, it's not enough to sway them to go to other parties. So I definitely do agree with many of your points, and also the miseducation, especially dating back. I was born in '83, but even dating back to the '90s, Democrats and Republicans were not so divided on gun ownership and gun safety. And here we are, like you said, 2020, and totally different voice.
All right, so man, I want to thank Edwin Walker from Texas U.S. Law Show for coming on. Thank you, Edwin. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jack Jones here, and I get my gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
What's your name, bud?
Zena.
Can you tell us about your dad?
Okay, so we need to always hang out. We need to always go places. And we need to always play around.
That's all right, son. Keep it going. Keep going.
And we need to.
Hey, baby. Be strong. You can do it.
And he need to always teach me how to be a man.
Alhamdulillah. Praise God. Praise God. That's right. That's right.
And these white racist cops got my own dad.
I'm sorry.
Because.
Man's man.
And black life still matter.
These are the things that you hear from kids, who are growing up, watching their family members, shot and killed by police. And here we are, it's election time, and people looking to the Democrat Party, they're looking for the Republican Party. But we go back and forth between these two parties. It's almost like we're trying to figure out who has the best master. Which way should you give your vote? And I'm just curious, especially from the black community, you're looking at, I look at how gun control came, where it came from initially. We go back to the 1600s, where the first gun control law in this country was you could not sell any firearms to indigenous people. Your second gun control law in this country was you could not repair any firearms from indigenous people. The first gun control law in Texas was, free slaves could not have access to guns. And then they started regulating handguns, didn't regulate long guns. They regulated handguns. Said, okay, well, we're going to take handguns from everyone, but you can keep your long guns, and that was like 1870, and that's kind of where they started regulating firearms. It's called the Jim Crow laws. Indians couldn't have access to firearms, couldn't sell them, and things of that nature. So when you look at control, you look at gun control laws. Every step of the way, all the way back to the 1600s, it's always about race. It's always about race. It's always about race and control, no matter how you want to spin it. All right, so you got to think of how do who's going to keep you safe? Who's who you going to vote for that's going to keep you safe in this troubled times? Where we are today. Who's going to walk into your house and take your guns? And that's what I have to decide. That's who I'm going to give my vote. And I want to ask you guys here. What do you think about this current election? Election day is on Tuesday. So I don't know if you've already voted. I know I already have. I voted already. I make sure I got my vote in there. So, just tell me what your thoughts are. Brandon?
Yeah, I already voted, but I agree with you. We always argue who has the best master and things like that. On the issue, if you're talking solely single, a single issue in terms of gun rights or gun control, wherever it may be, it's just very interesting with our group. We tend to, I personally get a lot of resistance from, both sides. I get it from other black people that are very liberal. I get it from white people that are very liberal. And interesting enough, the people that came out, people are the conservatives that historically say that we're enemies and things like that. It's really interesting to see. And I'm just saying, for me, I just want to protect myself. I want to protect my loved ones. I want to protect the women in my life, my family, everything like that. I'm just doing what's right for me. But obviously, like you said, Republicans have done gun control as well. And obviously Biden is going to staunchly be pro-gun control. And obviously it's to help him win the election. So, I can't be complicit to either of them. I voted, but that's how I'm going to frame it. So,
all right.
I would agree. And I think what, Brandon said that is most paramount is, the single issue concern. I think that if it were just that issue alone, I could probably advocate one way or the other. I think everybody has to vote their conscience. But I will say, as it relates to gun control, if that is something that is your deal, regardless of what party you subscribe to or which candidate you vote for, I think it's incumbent upon us to join a 2A community and fight for our rights, regardless of who's in the White House, who takes the Senate or the House. There are more and more gun owners now than ever before. There's a reason for that. I think that people in general feel that we have to, on some level, be our own first responders. And if we subscribe to that ideology, then we're going to have to put in the work and make sure that we protect those rights.
Let me ask you this, because here's a question I get in class, and I get 120 students a week, and I'm looking at, 20 students, 15 students, whatever it is, sitting in the class, their faces are looking at me. I don't see any mouths. I see just their eyes because we have face masks on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a totally different look in 2020. And so when people looking at me, this is a question I'll get. I'll get a young lady that will tell me, she said, she is deathly afraid as a black female. She's deathly afraid of being pulled over by police. What does she do? And I'm going to ask you guys, what would you tell a person that asks you that question? Say, look, when I see those blue lights behind me, I'm deathly afraid because of everything that's going on, because of what I see in the news. They're deathly afraid of those blue lights, as a black female. So what do I say to a person like that?
Yeah, Melissa will chime in on that, but I was going to say Texas is one of those states that you have to, tell the officer that you do have a firearm. I have family in Georgia. You don't have to. Certain states you have to, some you don't. But what do you think, Melissa?
Here in Texas, you have to if you have a license.
Correct.
Right.
So
If you don't have a license and you just have it in your glove box, then
Mhm.
you're not
Have to
required
disclose
to.
it.
Right.
So
But
as
lean
a,
into the mic there.
so as a black female with the license, I make sure I'm up on all the rules, the state's laws as much as I can be, and I try to follow those. So if I get pulled over, I'm going to hand them my license. I'm going to hand them my carry, both of them, and just go from there. The ideal is not to get pulled over, but if I do, I should. This shouldn't have to be an issue. It should be the same standards, black female, white female. All those rules should be the same. So if I'm getting pulled over, I should be treated just as any other person pulled over. I know it's not the same, but the way it should be. So I would hand them my things, let them know if I'm carrying or not. Don't get smart, don't get lippy, I guess, and just do the normal things. Me myself, I feel like I have the right to carry. I mean, it's my right to carry. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm not doing anything illegal. So it is what it is.
All right. And then another popular question that I'll get is and I had this question asked, put forth to me this past Saturday. Young man looked at me, young black male, looked at me and he said, we're, as a black male, he felt like, hey, we're being shot, we're being killed, by law enforcement, and there's no recourse. He sees when an officer clearly does something wrong. There are cases, and he told me that there are cases when the person that's being pulled over is in the wrong. But he said that in the case where the police officer is wrong, why is that police officer not prosecuted? What do we do? Why do we have a system set up so that police officers investigate themselves and clear themselves of any wrongdoing, but, there's no prosecution, or the officer's not prosecuted? The only thing you can really do is get an attorney and file a civil suit and sue that police department. And really, you're really suing the city because it's not the police department that pays, it's the city that pays, which are your tax dollars when that police officer does something wrong. But there's no criminal penalty to it when they're clearly in the wrong. What do you say to something like that?
That's very it's a tangled web. It's hard to say what are we gonna. I mean, this is why people are marching. This is why we're pushing for reform, everything like that, trying to change the face of Black America for everyone. I think that we're all symbols of that in our all walks of life. It's a very tough answer. Like for me personally, I try to get my tag. I have a family tell me get my license and registration, my tags, everything I have that up to date. So law enforcement doesn't have a reason to pull me over. And obviously, no, like I said, I have family that's former law enforcement. I kind of know how to. I know the standard operating procedure. Me personally, I've not had a bad experience with law enforcement. The 20 plus years I've been driving, but I know that occurs. I also have a dash cam in my car, so I mean to record everything in and out. I mean that's just my way to hedge my bets, I guess. It's my contingency plan. I mean it's the world we live in. I mean I don't know what to say to that. I mean I cannot live in fear. I have to live my life just like anyone else, just like you, and that's all we have to do. And pray that we are doing the best we can.
All right. And what do you say?
Yeah, I agree. That is a tough one to handle. As it relates to how police officers who engage in misconduct are treated. I mean, that's just something that we have to engage in on a social political level. And deal with accordingly. As it relates to gun ownership, I agree with both of my compadres here. We have to venture out and we have to do the things that we have the right to do, and perhaps those good engagements that we have with law enforcement, hopefully will encourage them to approach all motorists, African Americans especially, with the same kindness and the same professionalism, and not fear us or fear what would happen when they encounter us.
I tell you what, this week is election day. On Tuesday is election day. And this weekend, I had more people walk into the gun store to buy guns, buy ammunition, because they're getting ready for the election. And that's sad. That's really sad on where we are today.
Is this Jamaica?
I know. And they're they say, hey, we got to get ready for the election. So we're buying guns, we're buying ammunition, wherever they can get ammunition from. I tell you, it's not, it's not gold, it's not silver, it's not Bitcoin. It's like, do you have any bullets? This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, I invoke my right to remain silent, and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard, quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue questioning you without your attorney present. But remember, there's a second part to this equation. After invoking your rights, you must exercise those rights. That means you have to keep your mouth closed. Protect yourself. Don't let the legal system take advantage of you after an incident. And Law Shield members, if you've been involved in a self-defense incident, remember to call the emergency hotline and speak with your independent program attorney.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so Americans have bought a record number of guns so far this year. That's 17 million guns so far this year by the end of September. That means sales have surged during spring because of coronavirus fears, and then they surged again because of racial injustice, because of protests and things of that nature. Now, man, here we are again. It's election time. And people are running to the gun store again to buy guns to get ready for the election and ammunition. And, and finally, I think the media is picking up on it, that ammunition is hard to get. I knew this problem since January, February. They're like, oh, my goodness, ammunition, and they're finally running stories and they're talking about ammunition. They still haven't discussed the gun issue and why a lot of guns are not out there, why you can't get, particular guns or why a large number of guns are not there. That's because your manufacturers, they're looking for those parts and pieces that they're getting for overseas, and they can't get that stuff in. You got tourists. Their guns are made in Brazil. Brazil's been shut down for months. Brazil shut down 6 months. And so when they finally open back up, it's going to take that stuff. First of all, they got to make it, and then they got to get it across the water. Then they got to get it, through customs. We're talking about that stuff there. We won't even see that stuff the next year in reality. And that's a hard thing for people to understand. They're in shock by this. What do you mean? Well, unfortunately, that's where we are today. When things shut down, we get our parts and pieces from overseas and other countries. And then once they open back up, it's going to take time for them to make this up. It's going to take time for it to get it to the United States and take time to cross customs. It doesn't happen that easy. That's just how it is. It's just where we are today. And people just lose their mind. And it's funny to me because I get people that will, get upset about the fact that they want something and they can't get it. Well, if you yell at me, I'm definitely not going to get anything for you because we're talking about a gun. Can you imagine? So it's funny, but that's, have no fear. This week we're going to start selling some ammunition. I'm going to go to the storage closet and I'm going to pull out some ammo and we're going to start selling ammo. We're going to have some 7.62 by 39. I'm going to have some 5.56, some 223. We're going to pull some good stuff out there for you. So come on. Yeah, we're going to pull it out of storage. There's a little storage place there, and we're going to start selling some ammo on Election Day. So for those people that are stressing out because they need some ammo for Election Day, so we're going to put it out there in circulation. Give you some ammo. All right, so Walmart. Let's talk about Walmart. So Walmart, first, I'm confused. First, they said, you know what? We're going to remove the guns from the shelves. Now we're going to bring them back out. What is it? The almighty dollar is winning again.
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, what is it? Go broke. I mean, that's what happens. And Walmart is a big retailer, and especially like in Middle America, so makes sense. Totally. Whatever. I mean,
and tell me about your group, Black ATX Tacticals. You guys went out to the range day. You went to the indoor range this past week. You got a group of people together. How many people you have with your group?
Yeah, we had about 60 people.
60 people. Wow. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. All right. So you guys got a chance to get together, go shoot. Man, how was it?
Oh, it was great. Just had some people, just the camaraderie and things like that. And I think one of the things Black ATX Tactical tries to promote is inclusion. We're not trying to exclude anyone else, but we know as long as there's going to be exclusion or that feeling of discrimination within the gun community, we're here. We're going to be here, and I want to promote that. And anyone willing to help, allies, we have a GoFundMe. We want to host more events, and I think it's really cool. We had some Black-owned businesses. We got to shoot the machine guns. We got to shoot some binary triggers. People had different stuff. Good food, laughing, talking. We gave away memberships, training, everything like that. So I think it was something we were really good. It was very kind of upscale and things like that. Everyone felt really good and just, good vibe.
What I particularly enjoyed was the fellowship. The fellowship. All of us getting out there like-minded. It was meet and greet. So we had to talk and train and find people on the same level because you have the avid gun owners and then you have a lot of the new ladies and we get to talk. We talk about the dress code. We talk about different things that are normally. I love Black ATX Tactical. Before I joined this group, I was in a couple of other groups, and I'm in there, and I'm like, no, I'm not trying to join the militia. I'm not trying to start a revolution, So once I found Black ATX Tactical, it was a really good fit for me. The training, the community service, the outreach, I just love it. So the inclusion, there's never dumb questions. I'm asking questions. They were so patient and nice. To me and others that it's just a good community feel.
Nice. All right. Awesome. Yeah, because the laws are like really weird, and strange, and people get confused about that. The fact that don't forget you cannot take a firearm in the polling location. I cannot stress that enough. You cannot take a knife. Cannot take a knife with the length of the blade over 5 1/2 inches in a polling location. You cannot do that. You cannot take a club in a polling location. You cannot take any weapons at all in a polling location. So if your polling location is at Walmart or HEB every other day throughout the year with your license, you can carry an HEB. But then if it's a polling location, you have to leave your gun in your vehicle. You cannot take the gun past that sign that says no campaigning past this point. If you go past that point, you walk in, you give them your license to carry a handgun because you can use that as an ID, and then they notice that you have a firearm or a weapon. That is a felony, 2 to 10 years in jail. Don't drop the soap. Okay? All right, so now, man, what's up with this this OnlyFans model that defends family from burglar with a gun? What is up with that? I didn't even hear about that story. Anybody hear about that?
No, I heard about John Jones scaring off an intruder.
Who's John Jones?
MMA fighter, pound for pound, probably light heavyweight champ.
Shoot, it sounds like all he had to do is just stand there and say "boo."
Yeah, Yeah, he came out with his rifle. You know, he lives in where is it, New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
Just came out with his rifle.
Nice.
Ready.
So Ansley Pacheco, she's the OnlyFans model. What is OnlyFans? Zach? Reverend Zach, what's OnlyFans? He's like, this like, I know you know. And your mother's listening.
I don't know what that is.
Don't pick up the Bible now. He can't save you now. All right, so she's an OnlyFans model, and apparently, man, what happened here? So this is out of Miami-Dade County, Florida. In chilling incident, an OnlyFans model defended her family from a mass burglars who actually stormed into her home and brandished Uzi guns at her and her family. The home security footage of Ansley Pacheco's house showed the popular Instagram model in the bedroom of her Hialeah property on October the 4th when the incident happened. So 2 men burst through the front door and started shooting at the family model's husband, Daniel, and his friends who were in the house. The video shows 26-year-old Pacheco rushing to grab her own pistol before she began shooting back at the robbers from the bedroom doorway to save her family, according to a report there. So, man, that's pretty crazy.
In the video, they had to blur out her backside.
Oh, so she was...
I guess she was clad scantily.
She was actually on OnlyFans at the time, huh?
Giving members only access.
Oh, man. Crazy.
Ain't nothing free.
All right, so, and then what else is going on? And so you have, there's one other story. In Michigan, they're talking about those polling locations. Well, we're not going to talk about that because I don't want to get people confused about that, because then you'll start taking your guns in places you're not supposed to take them. Hey, speaking of that, you guys ever talk about the alcohol at all with your group and how bars are open now? Bars.
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that with the. I mean, I read a lot for what you've posted,
Okay.
but we haven't talked about that. We talked about the law a little bit.
And before we go, tell us about your group and how they can find you and support Black ATX Tactical.
Yeah. Myself, you can find the page, just Black ATX Tactical, on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. There's a GoFundMe also for that, and a Cash App, whatever it may be. You can find us on that. Just reach out. You can talk to us on the page on Instagram, send me a message. And we're more than willing to, we want to have more events. Like the one we had at the range was really cool. And then my friend Aaron Banks of Keep Firing LLC, he's going to have an event next week for a kids firearms safety course at the, I think, Florence, Texas?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going out there and things like that. Kids 8 to 16.
Okay.
Go ahead, Billy.
Well, I was just going to add that I believe we still have spots available for that youth event, if anybody's interested.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, so definitely get out there and go vote. And go vote. Election day is this week, so let your voice be heard. Let your voice be counted. Let your vote be counted. We may not know what's going to happen on November the 3rd. We may find out a week later. So I hope you got some guns and ammunition. If not, I do. All right, so, and remember this if you don't remember anything else. A man's rights rest in 3 boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the ammo box. As always, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.